Welcome to the MCP podcast. I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Mariela.
And today's topic is
standing your ground and not discounting and know your worth. So I feel like that's like a huge topic. It's not like recent. It's been around for quite some time, but I've noticed that it's increased. Like, because I'm a bit of a group stalker. Like I just like to lurk and read and just watch what people are complaining about, and that is like huge. How giving a discount. And or the other way too is I see a lot of ads on Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of photographers, which some are newbies, or majority are newbies, but some are like seasoned like myself and offering like free video or 50% discount. I'm like, you guys are insane. How are you living? But that's today's topic, so I'm excited to get into it.
Okay, so I've been observing some trends just on different like Google ads, Facebook groups, YouTube videos, and it seems like the discounting thing is kind of in the minds of like the clients. They're almost at the point where they think they willingly deserve a discount.
Yeah,
like,
true.
They don't. It's like the first thing is
entitled,
like,
right?
Yeah, entitled. That's what it is. They feel entitled to a discount, and I mean, there's a lot of vendors. It doesn't just affect wedding photographers. It affects florists, planners, probably even venues, DJs, everyone. And I understand like economic times are what they are, but people need to also realize that everyone who prices an item has put a lot of thought into why they price it that way.
Yeah, and they have overhead, they have to feed their family. There's a lot of reasons as to why it's priced the way it is, and the industry standards have just like been like on a roller coaster lately, and economics and politics have a lot, but I won't get into that.
Yeah, but the thing is that the clients need to realize that everyone has a threshold that they have to meet in order to do a job. And it gets down to the point where we want to make sure that people are being hired because of the quality of their work.
Yeah, they're being valued, and you must feel, positive or confident about your value. And yeah, it's okay to give a discount, or not even a discount. What's the word?
Maybe
a sweetener.
Maybe you say, I'll stay an extra hour.
Yeah, like
I'll give you a little album. Or
an album's a bit pricey, but maybe something like a print. But a sweetener, like that would be a better way for you to negotiate than just say, okay, I'll take $1,000 off. Like, oh my gosh, because then that sets the threshold for what their expectations are, and then they're going to feel, okay, well, they gave me a discount at least, maybe they'll go a little lower because I'm kind of struggling here, and I might want to be putting more of my priorities somewhere else, and maybe the photographer will go down a little more, or maybe this one will go down a little more. But like, that's how it becomes, and we all know this as an industry that once you start discounting, it's like,
where's the floor?
I don't, not to say that everyone's like this, and bash on on any clients, but it's what do you call it? A recurring issue. Yeah, that once you give a discount, then those particular clients want more from you, or are unhappy in the end. They're never happy. It's like a 99% of the time it happens that way. And I know that because I have done it. I've been there years ago. Like, I would be like, no, I can't charge that. I'm going to give them a discount. I mean, because I really want their business. And not to say that you can't be in that position, because I've been there. And when you're new especially, you want that business. You wanna be able to put into your portfolio. I mean, that was my reasoning. Like, I need these weddings under my belt. I need to showcase what I'm capable of and what I can and can't do. And you know, and I gave discounts here and there, and it's crazy because those particular clients are the ones that were the hardest for me. But yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing about discounting is that we don't really look at it, but basically we're like arguing against ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they'll say for example, you're 5,000, and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of too much," and you say,
That's out
"Okay,
of my budget.
I can do it for 4,500."
Yeah.
And
You
then
immediately take off 500 without even figuring out why.
yeah,
Like, what's the problem? Why do you feel like that's too high?
you're literally not negotiating with them.
No.
You're negotiating against yourself because
Yeah.
if you kind of have a feedback where they're just like silenced, and you're like, okay, how about 4,000? And it's like
in your head, you're like,
they haven't came back and told you a price yet. You just keep going down and down and down.
But the thing is too that I've found, I don't know if you guys tell me if you've found the same thing. It's like the budget of obviously budget is like a huge topic that potential clients don't like to talk about. And when I've learned to be direct and be like, okay, I know you don't want to talk about this, but I need to know what is your budget. And my answers are always like, well, I don't know, because I've never been married before. So of course, but we all have set budgets for something. So what do you think your photography should cost? And I still don't get answers. People just don't want to answer it.
Or they'll give you an answer, and if you're at their budget, then they say, that's out of my budget.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, I'm glad that you're on the phone call with me or in XYZ. Did you actually get a chance to look at where my prices start? A lot of them don't go look. So I'm like, okay, well, if you go there now with me, you're in front of a computer. Yeah, okay, can you go check it out? And then you'll see blah, 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 and I'll go through it with them. And that comes with XYZ. So I explain it all. And then of course, I get, okay, we'll have to think about it. Okay. No worries. I'm here if you need me. You know how to contact me. I'll follow up with you in the next 2-3 days. Bang. That's it.
Yeah.
But it does, you know, you got to try your hardest not to devalue yourself. And I know in these hard times, it's even harder, trust me. We've been battling it. I'm not even going to put a front on that one. It's like, it's been difficult. And I've almost gotten back to that. I'd be like, let me give him a discount so I can get that. No, don't do it. That's me battling in my head, you know. But it is I think it's a hard topic and it's a hard choice.
All right, so some of the reasons why photographers feel pressure to discount.
Well, what we think. Well,
Well,
what
probably
we've observed.
Yeah, and it's probably kind of universal for a lot of people.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not saying it's for everyone's the same, but
So some of the common scenarios where photographers, I guess, cave in to clients. It's a small wedding, so it's less work for you.
And they sound so nice and sweet.
So you have it's a small wedding issue where, it's not that many people, it's not that much work. That's one example.
Oh, and we don't have a big bridal party.
We don't have a big bridal party.
Or we don't have a bridal party at all. So
we have 200 guests.
Therefore, you should only, you shouldn't be charging me your full price. Like, dude, I'm still doing the same time.
Yeah, other thing is budget constraints. Of course, everyone says they have a budget. They don't have a budget. They don't know what their budget is, but it's somehow budget related. And then another thing that photographers have to deal with is they have the fear of losing bookings. And that's
the biggest.
That's probably the biggest because that probably affects why you fall for the other excuses from the couple.
And because everyone, the whole industry is really slow right now, I think it's become really apparent right now. And the urgency to book, and you feel like you're being ghosted by your left, right, front and center, back and center, but it's because the inquiries are down. Everything is down. So therefore, when you got that one inquiry and that potential client, you want to put the hooks on because you're not getting anything else, and the options are like this much. So I feel like that's why it's heightened right now. Everyone thinks you're getting ghosted and it's really bad. Like, but the numbers of ghosting is pretty normal.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
always pretty.
it's just less inquiries. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. If you have less people contacting you, and then the ones who do contact you, nothing comes out of it. Yeah, you gotta feel like, it's the end of the world type of scenario.
Well, I mean, because we're all at hard times right now. Like, everything's more expensive and we're trying, some of us are trying to feed our families and others it's a part-time job, but they need that part-time job because
their
the regular job doesn't pay them enough.
Everything else is expensive.
It's just, it's a horrible circle.
Yeah. So some of the psychology behind discounting is people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to please a couple. You want to make
because we're in the service industry.
Yeah, you're in the service industry.
So we want to serve. We want to make people happy, but there's a line, like at what expense?
Yeah.
I
can't make you happy at the sake of making myself unhappy.
Right. You've got to. It's got to be a mutual ground, and I guess learning how to toughen up with that for your own good is the hard part. It takes a lot of time and a lot of what's the word?
Perseverance.
Yeah, perseverance. Yeah, there you go.
One of the other issues behind discounting for photographers is imposter syndrome.
I've had that many times.
I don't know if I'm worth charging someone X amount of money to do this job.
Yeah, like, what? Who's going to pay that? Like, I don't have that high-end, oh my gosh, venues to showcase. No one's going to pay me that. Like, and trust me, I've been there. And even like recently, like, it's hit me sometimes too. Like, keep it real.
Yeah.
It happens.
And it happens to all wedding vendors, whether they're florists or planners. And it's like you go online, you look at all these other people who have super high-end events that they do, and you're like, well, if they're probably charging X amount of money. I don't know if I should be charging close to that or whatever because I'm not doing similar events.
Exactly.
But you're still doing the same work, and your work can be just as good as theirs. So
you just don't have the opportunity to work at this fabulous freaking
castle or something.
Pinterest, goddamn fucking picture perfect. Like it's the whole concept, or the people it's got to be picture perfect, and that's when you can charge an insanely amount of 10,000 plus. But it doesn't work that way. It's about building relationships and valuing yourself and having the confidence, because people will hire you based on that confidence.
Yeah.
And of course, if you vibe with them. I don't think it's really now, it's that fake marketing. Like, if you're doing these venues, then you're a higher end photographer. I don't believe in that.
Nah, I don't think so.
I mean, that probably doesn't come off right, but it's like you're still a higher end, you're like a luxury photographer. The word luxury is just so loosely put out there. So a high end photographer who probably charges 10,000 plus, for each wedding, they don't need to do, 20, 30, 50 weddings a year. But yes, they've probably got the opportunity to work with higher paying clients.
Yeah.
But it's not because they're better than you. They're probably outputting the same quality of photography that you are. It's just...
Maybe they have connections with vendors or who do higher budget weddings,
or planner that
so it's not really
in.
It's not really luxury. It's just high budget weddings.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The word luxury just gets thrown around. It's like with any other industry. Like my son, for example, meeting the right people and socializing and getting in and meeting someone who has connections with XYZ. Like that person, if you vibe with that person's going to bring you in. Not because, for any other reason, because you charge a certain amount. It's because you've got that connection. As well, you've got to have obviously skill.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how I feel. Like anything, it's
Well,
in the
people want to
connections.
work with people they like.
Yeah. So it's about building relationships and connections, not with just clients, but with the vendors. And you will, if you aim for whatever it is that market that you want, and try to get yourself in there, like you'll get there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when and where.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of no's
Oh,
on the way, but that's with anything
It's
in life.
part of life.
But if you
Don't get discouraged.
you have to
Just
reach
keep
out,
rolling.
reach out to planners, reach out to venues.
Whereas, say with me, I'm not a high end. I don't like. I mean, that's just my market is not high end. I'm not about the who's and the rahs. I'm very more laid back, chill. Like the client that cherishes and totally values photography and adventure and memories. Like it's a whole different vibe for me. And if they choose to have some castle, then I'm cool. But I just don't feel like that will marry the personality.
You're not going to say, I can't do your wedding because you're not getting married in a castle.
You know,
but there are some higher end photographers who only work in certain venues because that's part of their brand.
That's their brand. And mine isn't that.
Yeah.
You know, and so wherever your market is, or if you're still unsure of it, like, you know, explore it. Try different ones and see which ones you're more happy with, what type of crowd you prefer to be part of. And that's what I've found is I prefer to be part of the more laid back, chill, family kind of oriented, I don't know, adventurous, whatever you want to call it, just the more laid back people. That's my market.
Yeah.
That's my market.
One of the other psychological reasons behind discounting is competition anxiety.
Oh yeah.
And that's basically where you're like
That's massive.
constantly, looking at other vendors, seeing how much they charge, why they
Constantly
charge that way.
comparing yourself.
Yeah, and that can get in the way of a lot of things because we all have to, because we don't really know everybody's business background or like why they do what they do or what expenses they have or whatever.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm a full-time photo or video person and it takes me, I need to make $5,000 or I need to charge $5,000 per event in order to pay studio rent, pay for household, pay for my employees, pay for product, pay for upkeep, pay for insurance. I need to pay. That's what I need to pay. That's what I need to get in order to
my
run my
website,
business.
my everything.
But then there may be someone else who has a full-time job. If they make extra $1,000 on the weekend, that's probably as much as they make in a week at their job. So their cost of living, their cost of doing business is completely different. Mm-hmm. So if we compare ourselves against those people, we'll always say we're charging way more than we need to charge.
Yeah, we will always feel like we're overcharging.
Yeah, and then that comes back to you giving discounts because you're like, well, there's this preferred vendor list. I'm the highest person on the list, and you got all these other people who are like $2,000, $1,500. Do I need to like drop my price to compete with them? But you have to make yourself different from those people and let clients know that your value is what your value is and that they need to pay you for that. And if they want to pay $1,500 for a photographer who works on the weekends, shows up at your event with one camera, no second shooter,
holds up the wedding
because
your portrait session took
they don't
too
know
long.
what they're doing, or whatever. Any of those type of things is kind of what you're gonna get, honestly, when you get to that price point. Just because it would just be a lot of work, and in the end, it wouldn't even be worth it for them to even do the job. So they're not gonna put too much into it. So you want to charge, like if you're working and you're somewhere, you want to be there like freely doing it because you felt that you were compensated accordingly. Mm-hmm. If you're not, the truth of the matter is, if someone is at an event or anything, any job, it doesn't have to be photography, any job, and they feel that they're doing the job for really low because in their mind maybe they think you kind of take advantage of their neediness to book a job. A lot of times those people aren't going to do the best job.
Yeah, they won't feel valued and they're just like, I just want to get out of here.
Let me just knock it out.
Is it 8 o'clock already? Like, yeah, it's just the whole attitude is like, and the love for it isn't there. And, you know, and people see that in their photos, like afterwards, and a good 50+% regret that. And, you know, like, I'm sure many of you have had stories from, you know, people that you've met along the way, and like, oh, my photographer, blah, 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 like, we hated our photos. It was just so sad. You know, like, what do you say to them? All I can say, I'm so sorry. That sucks.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they will want something, but because of budget constraints or because if someone's helping them with their wedding and they find someone that can do it for a few $100 cheaper, they'll go with that other person. And they never tell you, I went with that other person because I felt their work better than yours. They'll say that person was cheaper. Yeah,
like I've gotten into the habit of asking my clients, or potential clients, like, okay, you know, I'm sorry, we've decided to move forward with another photographer. I'm like, okay, great, you know, wishing you all the best, blah, blah, blah. But can you just let me know, like, exactly why you chose the other photographer? Was it due to budget? Was it due to us not vibing? Or is it something completely different? Like, was my packages not good? Like, what is it that you did that made you choose someone else? And I have yet to have someone come back to tell me anything other than budget. We went with someone who was a little lower than you. I'm like...
Not because they were better. No. Not because I liked their work
and they always
more.
come back. We loved you so much, but we just couldn't make it happen with the budget. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, what do you say to that? It's like, if that's what it is, that's what it is. The only thing is, hopefully it works out for them, because if it doesn't, then they have a lifetime of photos that they didn't like. And my thing is, no matter what you're buying, whether it's photos or a car or whatever it may be, the thing is, it's like, do you, at some point, if you save $200 or $300 on a purchase, but at the end of the day, you don't like the purchase, then you can basically say you wasted X amount or whatever you spent on it, because you weren't really satisfied with what you got.
Yeah.
So that's like part of this topic discussion is
we'll just dive a little deeper to what we kind of just touched over.
Is the hidden cost of discounting. So one of those hidden costs is the financial impact. How discounts eat into profits and undervalue your time. So this comes back to when we price products or when we price services, we take into account everything we need to take into account in order to do the job.
Yeah.
Now, if we have to discount that pricing because a client says they can't afford it, we want to book them, then we also have to realize that as we discount what we needed to do our job, that means that in the end we're suffering, because now we have to cut corners from what we're doing.
Like, for example, if there's a package that includes album or prints, okay, you still got to pull out for that, okay? So basically, your discount is pulling out from your actual own profit. If you have a second shooter, you still got to pay that second shooter their full rate. So that means you're not getting your full rate. So if you want to say, let's say you charge $300 an hour, that's how you price it. I'm just throwing numbers out here, okay? So now you've got to go down to $250 an hour to give that person a discount. So your profit in the end is less. Therefore now you have to go in and try book something else for that month, because you've already lost hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of dollars on giving this person a discount. So now you're like, shit, now I've got to freaking book another person to make my ends meet.
Now you're going to give another discount for the other person because you need to make up the difference to get the booking. It's a vicious cycle.
It is, and just think before, think hard and be tough with yourself and be like, no, screw it, I'm not giving a discount. I cannot give you a discount, but I am more than happy. I can give you an extra hour, or I can take away the second shooter. Like, whatever it is, like, try not to take away from your hours hours, your time, because it's only for that day. You got to educate them as well. Like, I'm not just showing up on that day. I'm giving you time. When I give timeline assistance, so I help you with a whole photographic timeline. 4 weeks prior to your wedding, we work on it together. And then if you're giving them an engagement session on top of that, you've got all that time that you've got to also driving, taking the time, then editing those photos. And then, of course, and then after, you've got all the editing hours, and you guys know exactly how long that takes. Of course, people be like, oh, I use Aftershoot, or I use Imogen, and I use that. Of course, that helps a lot, but with using those, you also have a higher, what do you call it?
Monthly cost.
Overhead and whatnot. So giving discounts doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. The other issue with the hidden cost of discounting is client perception. Discount clients often demand more and respect you less.
Yeah, like I mentioned way earlier, they don't respect or value you. They don't, because to them it's all about the dollar sign, cha-ching. Like, it has nothing to do with what you're giving them in the end, or what service, or the effort and time that you're putting into it with them. They don't care. A lot of them don't.
Because to them, they didn't hire you based on like your skill set alone.
Yeah.
They hire you based on a discounted price, and
what can I get for that?
Yeah,
what are you giving me for that?
It's the old saying: give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah.
So if you discount yourself to the point where you're working for less than you wanted to work for, then there's no end to it. Now it's like, okay. I mean, we had issues in the past where
they don't even discount. What they do is they add to your work.
Or they ask, or we've had issues where a client will say, for example, a client forgot to put lipstick on. And they said,
oh gosh, yeah.
And they didn't even pay that much for the wedding. And they were like, well, can you add lipstick to all my photos?
And I'm like, my first reaction was like, are you kidding me? Like, I sat there looking at that email and I was like, wow, okay, sure, I could do that. I sat and started working out my numbers. It's going to cost you blah, 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 blah. But first I said, okay, well, do you want all the photos? You have over 200 photos. Like, I went and counted how many photos that her lipstick is showing, or it's very visible, and it was like 200 photos.
Yeah.
Oh, 200 and some change. And so I let her know, and that's, each photo is going to cost you X, Y amount of money. Is that what you want? Are you willing to pay for that? If yes, then let's go. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, she was like, oh no. I said, okay, well then you pick your favorite 20 or 10 and we'll go from there.
So basically what it came down to, if they had to pay for it, they didn't want it.
They didn't want it.
But
that was the point.
But if you were going to do it for free, of course they would take it.
Yeah. I said, nope.
Yeah,
I ain't doing that for free.
Clients who don't pay your amount that you're asking for do not value you. I don't care what it is. It's like, if a person is skilled at doing a job and they have experience and they're charging a certain amount, you should have the courtesy to pay an expert for expertise. If you want to pay less, then go get someone with less experience. And with less experience, a lot of other issues come up with that when you're dealing with people who aren't the best. You can get your neighbor's kid to work on your Mercedes because he tinkers around on his little Toyota or Honda, or you can go and get someone who's a master mechanic and know that they're going to do the job right. But you're going to have to pay them to do the job. They're not going to just do it just because it's your big day or whatever it may be.
Because it's a hobby, right?
It's because it's a hobby. No, professionals need to be paid professional wages.
Especially for especially if you're talking about a mechanic too, they have to go to school.
They have to go to school. They worked on cars for years.
They went out their way
they got all this experience.
To do all that.
It's like they didn't just wake up one morning and watch some YouTube videos and know how to overhaul your engine. So you have to look at it that way. Okay. The race to the bottom hurts the industry. So if you're a person who does weddings on the weekend, say you make $1,200, you think that's great. Now what happens when the next person comes and says, I'll do your wedding for $600, And believe me, that happens. I see on some Facebook groups where people will say, someone will go in there and say, I have a wedding, XYZ.
My budget is $1,200. This is how many hours.
I've seen it as low as like $300, $600. And people will say, oh, I can do it.
I'll do it.
I can do it. Me. So our approach to that is that, like, I hate reading that because I think these people aren't thinking.
It actually triggers me.
Aren't thinking further down the line. But also for us, those people aren't our clients anyway. Anyone who's willing to pay $300 for like a wedding, they would never contact us, and I would never want them to contact us.
Yeah, it doesn't trigger me for that way. It just triggers me that these young or whoever is saying me, like, oh my gosh, can I just sit you down and tell you not to do that and why? But I can't.
Yeah, it's crazy. Other part of the hidden cost is personal burnout. And we've been doing this for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And believe me, we've done wedding shows all over. We've ran into photographers, wedding photographers. And I say, like, honestly, probably a good, I'm saying like the turnover rate's got to be like at least 75% or more.
For photographers?
Yeah, of like wedding photographers that we run into over the years, because a lot of those people, they come in, they're all gung-ho. They went out and mortgaged a farm, spent $30,000 on
all the studios.
In the studio, top of the line lenses, camera equipment, all that good stuff, right? But when it comes down to it, they're doing weddings so cheap that, I mean, we used to run into a lot of these photographers. They're like, how many weddings you guys have this year? I don't know, like 24 or whatever. And they're like, I have like 60 weddings this year. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of weddings.
That's a lot of weddings.
but I know they have 60 weddings because they're charging cheap.
Yeah.
Right? So by the time they've probably hit like 20 weddings, they're probably burned out or on the verge of it, because they're probably working for half the price that we're working, but they're working like constantly. They're working all the time. They're editing. And when it comes down to it, and a lot of these people will edit every photo, like literally like sit down and do a super edit of each photo. So they may be spending, who knows, maybe 100 hours when you break down wedding, like pre-wedding time, wedding day, editing, dealing with the client afterward. They're probably spending like a lot of hours.
Yeah, because the goal is to actually get your shit in camera like as spot on as you possibly can, so that way your editing time is obviously less. I mean, unless you're the type of editor, which there still is some who would like highly edit their shit.
Yeah, they have a highly styled version.
Yeah, which is
that you can't get in camera.
That's their thing, and that's their shit. But I can't do that. But,
yeah.
I mean, not that I can't. It's not my thing.
Yeah. So a lot of these photographers will burn out. Same thing with any other wedding vendors who are out there. They just charge so cheap that at the end of the day, if I was to sit down with them and kind of crunch their numbers and figure out a lot of their background, it's like they're probably making what they would make at a decent job. So I mean, at that point, it's just like, do they want all the responsibility of doing that for the amount of money they make? And most of these people, they'll just get out. It's, like I said, there's far and few in this industry who've been here for the long haul. And because they've been here for the long haul, they went through so many ups and downs, like good times and like horrible times and okay times, and like the situation with the cheap photographers and cheap florists and cheap planners. That's something that's just always there. That's always been an issue. That's not new. The new issue is that now clients are trying to cheap out on you.
I think the clients are trying to set the standard pricing.
Yeah,
I feel that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, a lot of them go in there and say, "This is my, I'm in search of XYZ this is my budget," and the people who respond to those posts, they're not the brightest either, because they're saying that they can do a job and they have no idea what the job consists of.
Yeah, like some of them don't even tell you what location they're at or how long the hours or whatever. It's like, oh, I'll do it. Like, what if it's like a 12-hour day, you fools?
Yeah.
But then, and then you've got, you know, some photographers who think like us who'll get in there and be like, really? Like you that's like so low. You probably would find someone who's just starting at the same time, like they shouldn't even be doing it for that cheap. Like, you know, you get people who'll go in and be like, yo, try to set this potential or this bride, whoever it is, straight, but there's only one or two of them in there speaking up, and the rest is just. And
the rest of them are all the same
and you're
people.
probably thinking like, why don't you speak up? I'm just not an internet troll or you know, it's not trolling. I don't know what you want to call it. I just don't like being part of those conversations. It's so negative. Like a lot of it's so negative. I don't like it.
You either get people who give information that's probably not the best, or you get really jaded people who just complain about everything.
Yeah,
so the amount of rational people who just kind of like, oh, this person has a point, but this is the other side of it. XYZ, this person has a point, this is the other side of it. It's like it's either one extreme or the other. So you got to take that into account when you're
I'm not a
going
Facebook
on forums.
group.
It's like if you have questions about that stuff, I mean, you can email us at our podcast or just find other photographers who've been around for years and talk to them in person. You know, these random people on the internet you don't really know.
Yeah. So, like I said before, feel free to give me a message. I promise we are going to stand firm. How the hell do you stand firm?
No more discounts, people. Stop it. It's bad. It's bad business practices.
Bad business. Like, honestly, if you want ideas on how to not give discounts, send me a message. Email me. I'll give you some advice. Promise. It'll be straight up legit advice.
Okay, so first point with anything in life is that it's always what they say, it's not your enemy, it's your inner me. So everything starts with you inside, and what you do in your frame of mind or your personal choices will affect everything outside of you.
And the same rule applies to your business.
So one of the things is you want people to know that I'm just going to use the word luxury service mainly because when people think of luxury, they just think of higher quality service. So you're a luxury service, not a commodity. So what that means is that you're providing a certain level of expertise and service and quality of work, and that's why people should pay you what you deserve. And that's the mindset that you need to have. You're not a commodity. It's not like you're selling just eggs, or you're not selling just generic bread or generic pants or jeans. You're a commodity. I mean, you're a luxury mindset or service. So you have brands like a Levi's. They sell Levi jeans. Levi jeans has a history, has a reputation for quality. It just has a lot that goes along with it. But then you have Faded Glory at Walmart. Yeah. Those jeans, or Lee's, or all these other jeans. It's like, it's just a commodity. There's nothing behind it besides it's cheap. It's the cheaper version of Levi's. At the end of the day, everything was Levi's, and anything after that is either a cheaper version or a higher end version of it. Right. So you want to think of your business as that type of thing, as a service, as a good quality product, as an experience, as opposed to I'm just selling wedding photos.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said before, we've preached this before. Is your service that you're selling isn't just taking a photo. Like, you've got to be confident in how a day is rolls out. You got to be confident in all these different sections of that day. Like, that includes the getting ready and how to do a first look, and how to take flat lays if that's what you like doing, how to interact and communicate with families when you're doing the family sessions, and then you know, the rest of the reception. You've got all these different hats that you've got to wear as a wedding photographer. Like, let's be real. Mm-hmm. So if you feel like you're not confident in one or the other, then work on that. But you don't have to, but if you're providing a service and everything else is like amazing, that still doesn't mean that you're not there. You're almost there, but you're still valuing yourself. Value what you already know, and be confident that you can do it. We all go through our learning things, and I've never hit the end of my learning. I'm still learning. There's so much to learn. And just creatively, that's how I feel like I've got to put myself out of those boundaries and creatively learn and keep learning. And the marketing and the whole market just changes constantly, so I've got to constantly be learning. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do that, you won't grow. So yes, all of that is part of being, what do you call it, a great photographer. But
great photographer, great business owner,
great business owner, because it's not just about taking photos. There's all of that back end as well. But it's, if you're not there yet, you feel, and you kind of unsure where to go, like there's so many resources online that you could do, or you could, if you feel that you're more of a one-on-one person, then find that mentor that will help you out. Like,
find a workshop, or even if you're still trying to figure it out, second shoot for someone. See if you can work in an associate with someone. That way you can learn how a business is run, and you can see the background, and you can see,
ask questions.
And you work with someone who's experienced. At the end, it's only going to make you a better photographer,
better business person.
Owner.
Yeah.
All right, so the other thing is, to reframe your mindset, is that confidence in your pricing attracts the ideal clients. Mm. So if you're confident in your price, like, this is my price and this is why my price is what it is, then that means the clients who do book you are your clients, are the right clients for you.
Yeah.
If you have to convince someone to book you based on like discounting everything, are they really your right client? Probably not, because you wouldn't have to do all that discounting, because once you start doing that, then it's like, they're really not your right client. They're just right for you. You're just right for them because you're cheap.
Yeah.
And
they're not for you.
Yeah, that's what we don't want. Do not want that.
And the whole goal is to be able to have the freedom to choose your client as well.
Yeah.
Not just them choosing you.
It's mutual. No one's being held hostage. Okay. So here's some scripts to say no gracefully to people without coming off as just like, no, kick rocks, get out of here.
I wish we could say that.
All right.
Kick rocks.
Kick rocks.
Come out.
Okay, so one of the things you could tell people is, my pricing reflects the quality and experience I provide.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And how can someone argue against that? It is what it is, right? You've explained to them why your price is in a very simple sentence.
Yeah.
Another one is, I don't offer discounts, but I do offer payment plans. And that's something that most people should be able to understand, because if they go car shopping, if they want an expensive car but they can't pay cash for it,
what do they do?
They get a car loan, they get a payment plan, they figure it out. Or if they can't do that, then maybe they buy some bucket on Facebook or something.
Or they just go buy something else
or something
because
that's more
it's
affordable
out of their reach. But it's the same concept. So remember that I offer payment plans. It's the best one. And even if your deposit, standard I was doing for a long time was 25% of the total cost. Now, because the market changed, I changed that. So now I have a set number, no matter how much my package is that I'm selling for their retainer, and that I feel like that's helped it's a long way since in the market that we're in right now and the economy. So change it as economy and shit changes around you to make it stay and worth it. But at the same time, you're not discounting. You're just changing how that payment plan works.
The same price. You just just working around their schedule. Or their pocket.
Be flexible. I'm flexible.
Yeah.
People freaking love that. Like a stickler for nope, you have to make 3 payments and that's it, and it's this amount. For me, it's I find that my clients, they love the fact that I offer them a flexible payment. They could do 10 payments if they want. But a lot of them be like, in the end, don't. They just take what I've given them, they're 3 payments. But they're like, you know, we might change that. I'm like, cool, no matter, you just let me know. But a lot of them don't. I did have one weekly. Remember? Weekly. That was insane.
But that worked for her.
But it worked for her.
It made it easier for her to do.
She paid me weekly. Oh my goodness, for 6 months.
Another way to say no gracefully is say, I hate for you to book me and later wish you invested in full services. And that's a good example too, because if you have to discount something, say if you give a discount, they say, okay, I can't afford your package. So can you discount it? And you as a photographer say, okay, I can remove my second shooter.
Oh, I can remove my album if you got one in there.
But say, for example, if they remove the second shooter, but your event is so big it needs a second shooter, at the end of the day, they're going to be missing photos.
Which is your job to let them know.
Photos that they could have got.
Yeah.
And they'll be disappointed because they're like, well, I didn't get this many photos. And you're like, well, I had to discount it because you said you couldn't afford it, so I had to cut one of my second shooters in order to do this.
But that shouldn't happen because you need to explain all that clearly before.
You need to explain to them the second shooter is there for a reason to fully provide the services that they're expecting.
If they want getting ready and they want the groomsmen and they don't want to pay for the extra time, then you're like, yeah, we need our second shooter. That way they can cover groomsmen, I can cover you. Otherwise, you know, that's how I would do it if they're like insisted that they don't want to do more time. So, okay, then I'll bring the second shooter for that time, but the second shooter is not going to be there all day. They're leaving after XYZ.
Yeah. And once again, we'll say this again, alternatives to discounting, payment plans. Figure out a payment plan that works for your client and works for you and offer that. And if the client really wants to work with you, they'll figure it out. They'll make it work.
Yeah, just try your hardest not to discount. I mean, if it's local and you feel like, oh, I can do it cheaper because it's local, then don't do like a crazy amount. Like, if you're really insistent that you want to do a discount, like.
Or sometimes maybe you don't discount it. Maybe you say, well, I'll do it for this amount because this is a venue I want to shoot at. Oh, yeah. That way it benefits you as well. It benefits
you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that one. So yeah, if it's a venue that you seriously want to get into,
or it's a nice wedding that'll be good for your
portfolio. But that's a lot of the reasons why people do discount though, because that's what they want to do. But there's a limit again. So limit yourself, refrain yourself from making less money and devaluing yourself. Okay.
Okay. So some of the ways that you can move forward based on this conversation that we've had with you today. So here's some actionable steps that you can take.
Yeah, like the first one I would say highly is take a seat, pull out all your pricing structure, reevaluate it and audit it. Sit down. I'm old school. I'll sit down, pull out my notebook, and I'll start writing everything that I want to offer in a package. Everything that's going to cost me to offer that package. And then at the end, okay, this is what's going to cost me. What do I want to get paid? What do I feel comfortable with? So then I'll figure out that number of which I normally do it as an hourly rate. And then from there, I'll come up with my packaging. Okay, that's great. That's where I want to start at. And you know, and what if it's like a 5,000 plus number, and you don't freak yourself out. Don't be like, oh my God, that's too high. I can't do that. Like, let's just say you went from charging from 3,000. Okay, 3,000 is still on the low scale as far as the industry standard is. Okay, so you know, reevaluate. What can I change in that package, and figure out what you feel you work best with. Do you always work better with when you have a second shooter? Or maybe you don't need one and you added value by actually having them add one yourself. And with that, you actually also charge a little extra for that second, photographer, because you're still editing those extra photos. So you're paying them, the standard pricing for a second shooter anywhere from $65 to $85, depends on their experience, per hour. And then on top of that, you also have to factor in that you're editing those additional thousands of photos. So you have to factor that price in. I don't know if anyone thinks about that,
Yeah.
but you have to. So there's so many steps as to help, fix your packaging up. And I would love to help if anybody wants to, contact me. Like, I enjoy doing that part of it.
Yeah.
I'm really
So,
detailed.
That's one thing is go through, reconfigure your pricing, take a look at what you should be charging. Don't look at who's the cheapest around you and try to compete with them on price.
Yeah.
Price yourself at what you feel that your service should be priced at. And then you just work on letting people know the value of what you're offering.
After that, it's just working on standing your ground and be like, well, no, this is what I charge, and this is my level of expertise, and that's it.
Another option or another step that you should take going forward, remove any discounts from your website and pricing guide.
Pop-ups or anything.
Any pop-ups that say 50% off.
Or even 25% off.
Have 2 positions, 2 dates left.
Free
I'll
video.
do it for 75%.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Just don't do free and don't do 50%. That's insane.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, if you want to run a promotion.
Or just say like every client gets a extra hour.
Yeah, an extra hour, or you can throw in a canvas or a print, because that's not going to be too much out of your pocket.
No.
Right? So give them a sweetener, not a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Remember that.
Yeah. The other thing is practice your no discount scripts. So I know it's hard for people because most people natural thing they want to do is please other people.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to realize that if you say no to someone, it's probably not pleasing to them. But at the same time, you just need to stand your ground firm, and just make sure that when you tell them no and you explain why it's a no.
Yeah.
And then you have to be secure enough in what you do to accept that they may walk away and go somewhere else. And if that happens, then that's fine. That's what it is. But you don't want to put yourself in a position where you get burned out because you're taking jobs all these jobs you don't want to take. You're doing weddings for people who you kind of have a grudge with because you gave them a discount, even though you freely did that, but in the back of your mind, you're probably going to be thinking
I'm doing
took advantage
so
of
much more. They've asked me for X, Y, Z, and they took advantage of my niceness. So, you don't want to feel that way.
Yeah. You don't want any animosity towards the
Yeah.
people who you're working with. And if you get your full rate, you're just going to be like, okay, this is the job I want. Great, I'm going to go knock this out and do what I need to do.
And create some great relationships and have fun while working.
Yeah. So that's that.
Just like when someone asks for a discount, remember that your art is value. Remember that your business is value. And remember that you are the value. So always try to remember that in the back of your head when someone asks for a discount. Sometimes people don't directly ask. They'll go around the way. You got to learn to read between the lines.
And just because you give them your price and they don't say anything,
it doesn't
you
mean...
don't pipe in and say, I can do it for cheaper. You just tell them what it is. And if they can do it, you just let them...
Let that silence...
sink
let that silence sink, because they're probably thinking in their head immediately, like, they're putting up dollar signs and calculating stuff, and they don't realize they're doing it. But don't be anxious. Just let it go.
Don't be desperate.
Well, no, people are not desperate. Yes, I'm in him. Anxiety can do it, okay? I'm speaking from the heart. Anxiety can do that to you.
Yeah.
You get anxious and you just want to, get a response. So
So just at the end of the day, value your work.
Value
you, and then you'll like what you do, and you won't get burned out. You'll survive. You'll go through tough times, but it's the photographers, it's the vendors who, for the most part, stick to their prices as closely as they can, who survive. because the ones who are constantly giving discounts, and when times get slow and their discounts are no longer working, they're the ones who get really discouraged and they just give up. They just be like, well, I've already discounted. At this point, it's not for me. I'm just gonna
hang in there, guys. Times are gonna get better. I feel like this year is just a reset, and we are all resetting, and we just go for it.
And the thing is, truth of the matter is, yeah, there's times where it's slow, but
that's part of entrepreneurship.
But that's business in general.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, there's still clients who'll call and don't have a problem spending $7,000, $8,000 on a wedding.
Yeah.
So those clients, those people are still out there. There's probably less of them, but you have to see it this way too. If you do one of those here and there, it might be equal to 2 or 3 weddings that the other people are doing. Mm-hmm. So you just have to hold the line, be patient. Just
find other small jobs in between. That's my advice too.
Yeah.
Like do portrait sessions. Do mini sessions if that's your thing. If you really need some money in between,
take the downtime to do style shoots.
Yeah.
Reach out.
That's not going to make you money, but it's going to help
your marketing.
It's going to keep your socials and your creativities rolling. So keep your mind busy, keep yourself busy. I mean, I do that. So I'm always doing style shoots, not because I have to. It's just I enjoy them. I love doing them, and I'll be re-implementing the style shoot workshop soon, at the start of 2026. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
because I'm working towards that.
And then it just helps that you take that downtime and maybe you have to figure out your marketing a little bit better. Maybe you redesign your website, whatever it is. It's just don't sit back and not do anything, because that just causes you to be
And I'm going to
depressed.
sell myself again. If you need help, mentorship, one-on-one, whatever it is, or even just a quick phone call, I have that information all on my website on the workshops. So if you feel like you want to do that, let's do it. I can help you, no gatekeeping, straight up. I'll even give you some of I also have things and PDFs and whatnot that I'll share with you to help you and guide you. So,
Where do they find that?
At www.mcpworkshops.com.
I'll put that in later.
Yeah, he'll put that in.
Okay.
But you'll find me too at marielacampbell.com, and Instagram, it's at mariela_Campbell. I really don't utilize all the other social medias because I just can't do it. But yeah.
All right, so that's it for this episode. We just leave you with these words of wisdom.
But
do not discount.
No. Do not discount. But our next episode, I'm throwing him under the bus here. Our next episode, we're going to go down the line of Google Ads and marketing.
Marketing 101.
101
for your wedding business.
Pretty basic, but I want to lightly put a cover on that and introduce Demetrius' skill set, because he's sitting over here behind the lines acting like he don't do nothing else, but he does a lot more. So yes, next episode, look out for that one.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Yes.
See you next
Bye.
time.